The movie starts in a kitchen where chefs are seen preparing dishes. Their head chef had a new order today. It was from a rich businessman. Chef Paul cooked a lobster with some gray sauce which his customers deeply enjoyed. He was a well-known chef who had gained much recognition in his field. Aoi was a cook too, though she did not work in a lavish and expensive kitchen. She was an exceptional chef. A guy came to her small shop and ordered Vietnamese noodles. He was blown away by the taste. Before leaving, he gave her a card to his company called Hunger. Aoi was extremely poor. She and her family could barely make ends meet. That day she had cooked one of their favorite dishes, crybaby noodles, which her family enjoyed. That night she looked up the name on the card. It was a restaurant run by Chef Paul. He was an exclusive chef who only served celebrities, millionaires, and billionaires. The next day, as Aoi was cooking, she saw the same guy in his car, in front of her eatery. Late on payment of installments for her place, and being extremely poor, she decided to take a chance. Aoi and another cook, who was working in a 5-star restaurant, were both there for their auditions. Chef Paul asked them to make a simple fried rice dish, and in the end, he appointed Aoi. Despite her dish being simple looking as compared to the other chefs, it had a better aroma and taste. She took a shower and wore her new uniform. She was excited about her new job, but little did she know she had signed up for Hell's Kitchen. Chef Paul asked her to make thin slices of Wagyu beef. She tried it again and again, but he was not satisfied. Her frying skills were also not up to his standard. He shouted at him and threatened to fire her if she did not improve the next day. Aoi spent the whole night perfecting her sliced meat. She even slept in the kitchen. Chef Paul was pleased with her dish. Aoi had burns all over her arms due to the excessive time she spent in front of heat and hot boiling oil. They had to present dinner for a very rich party today. The theme of the food was bloody and messy. As Aoi had perfected her frying, Chef Paul made her present a live cooking show. When the food was presented and plated, the rich, sophisticated people started eating their food like wild animals. The next day, Tom took Aoi to stock up on fresh seafood. They went to the river and bought from a poor family. Later, they had dinner with the same family as well. Tom explained that the reason Chef Paul did not buy from big corporations was that he wanted to help the poor people and maintain a balance. He fed extravagant dishes to rich people from the ingredients he bought from poor people. Aoi was back in the kitchen. She asked Chef Paul for more work. He asked her to clean utensils, walls, and kitchen counter. Aoi did not expect this. She asked for a cooking task, to which Paul got mad. Before a chef cooks anything, a whole team does the prep. Only this enables the chef to be able to make a good dish. He was a strict boss and only expected perfection and obedience. Aoi visited Tom's place. She brought the noodles that she served in her small cafe. Tom taught her different techniques. Although Aoi was a good chef, she lacked that professional touch. They had stolen a piece of meat from the kitchen and cooked it. The next day, while making dessert, one of the chefs lit a cigarette. As soon as Paul came, he put it out. Paul asked him to light it again and smoke it without flicking. Paul started walking around the kitchen and talking to the chef. After a point, the cigarette hash fell into the pot. Paul forcibly made the chef taste the dessert as punishment. They had a new order. This time it was a dish for a small girl for her birthday. They cooked the dessert. When Chef Paul tasted it, it had hints of shrimp. He checked the pot and found a shrimp in the bottom of the pan. The girl was fighting a life-threatening disease and this shrimp could kill her. He was extremely angry at the head chef and started abusing him. During this, the head chef picked a knife and stabbed him. Paul woke up in the hospital. He was served simple bland hospital food, to which he got mad. He threw the food away, saying that he cooked the world's best dishes and now was made to eat this. Aoi visited him. She brought him her crybaby noodles. Chef enjoyed them. She asked him the reason he became a chef. Paul was from a very poor family. When he was a small boy, his mother worked as a maid in a rich house. One day, Paul saw them eating caviar, he wanted to try it as well. He was caught stealing, and the owner made his mother work for several months for free, to make up the price of the caviar. When Paul tasted the fish eggs, he said that they tasted like shit. He understood that rich people only ate exotic food for the luxury factor. Aoi's father was sick. He was in the hospital. She was upset to find out that the hospital did not even give him a bed. She managed a bed for her dad, and sitting beside him she saw the news. The same family that they had served a dessert dish to had committed murder-suicide. The father was in debt to a rich businessman and could no longer afford his daughter's treatment. Back to cooking, this time Chef Paul and his team were on a hunt for a rare bird. When the hunters shot the bird, it was an endangered species. Aoi was disturbed by this. She confronted Chef Paul about killing endangered animals, but he did not seem concerned. She took off her apron and quit. Aoi was back managing her father's cafe. She found a card that was given to her by a businessman when she had presented her first live cooking show. She contacted him and he helped her set up her own restaurant called Flames. Aoi executed everything that she had learned from her previous job to create the best and most unique cuisine. She started getting recognition, and the restaurant became one of the competitors to Hunger. Flames had landed the order of the city's richest family's daughter, Madame Milky's. That night, Chef Paul visited her restaurant. She made him her most liked dishes and asked for his opinion. He said that his opinion didn't matter. If her dishes were liked by people and she was getting expensive orders, she was on the right track. He also disclosed that Chef Paul was also hired to cook for Madame Milky's birthday. He threatened to make people forget about Aoi's food. At the party, the people were busy celebrating and enjoying themselves. Both the chefs were busy creating their masterpieces to serve. Both of them were getting equally praised. Chef Paul lowered a whole animal and cut into it like a samurai. He then served this to the people. They were all impressed. To counter this, Aoi made her famous crybaby noodles. The people at the party liked her dish as well. After this, Chef Paul served them tea and claimed that it would reverse their aging process. He mocked Aoi and showed her he would always be the best in this game. Suddenly, the police arrived. They arrested Paul for the shooting and cooking of an endangered bird. He left angry, warning that he would come back and take his rightful place. Everything settled down and the DJ played music. Everyone left their half-eaten plates and gathered on the dance floor. That night, on the way back, Aoi saw how people struggled to put food in their bellies, while the rich wasted food without remorse. She realized that her clients will never respect her food. They were given more than they deserved. She came back to her cafe and went back to cooking good soulful food at her father's cafe.